Hey, good evening, everyone. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to JHS Interviews. And tonight, 3 times back. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Health and nutritionist coach George Batista is back to give us some wisdom and information and knowledge on the body. Last time I was kind of blown away, and I bought a supplement that he was talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about it today as well. And I was blown away about how good I felt. So anyway, let's just bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to JHS Interviews, George Batista. George.
Hello, sir.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. I love being on your show. It's a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. And we appreciate you because last time you were on, you said some stuff and that really blew me away. There was so much knowledge. And if anybody's interested, you can go check that episode out. We won't talk about that stuff again because it's a new day and we're going to be talking about some new stuff. But I did want to talk about really briefly about this Omega Life 2X supplement or fish oil that you had recommended to me, and I got it and I started taking it, and I think and I'm not, I'm straight up with everything. If this actually didn't do anything for me this week, I wouldn't have mentioned it. You know what I mean? Like I would have just been like, hey, talk to me about something else. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have brought it up, but it really did. I think within like 2 or 3 days, I started feeling more energy. And then something happened that I don't even know if it's because of this, but for some reason my skin started feeling like a little bit softer, like it was like I was in the shower and I felt like my skin was just softer. And I was like, this is what's going on, and it had, and the only different thing that I've been doing is I've been taking these every day. So, so anyway, I just want to thank you for recommending that. It was really a great product. We're going to talk a little bit about it as well, because we have it on the screen there, the website. Again, I get I'm not endorsing this as somebody that gets paid for it. It just worked for me and I feel good for it. So I just wanted to point that out there. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, how are you doing, with the family and the whole thing?
Doing well. Obviously, with the pandemic still going on and all that, and but we're doing well. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's good. I have all my my supplements and my vitamin C and everything ready to go. Just in case, that type of thing. But yeah, we're doing very well. And my daughter actually just had we didn't talk about it last time, but my daughter just had reconstructive surgery for torn ACL.
Oh wow!
But she got through it. She's doing very well. She's walking around again like nothing, doing her rehab, and hopefully she'll be back to basketball soon.
Wow!
So, but yeah, everybody's good.
It's amazing. It's so cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So last time we talked about the first episode that you were here. The first time you were here, we talked about the immune system, which is, I guess, is always an important thing because it's what actually God gave us to protect our bodies from illnesses and from viruses and from all that stuff. So if it's compromised, you're bound to get sick, right?
Exactly.
So we covered that. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But we also covered some dietitianary things. I just made up a word where we talk about some diet stuff. And I think that was actually really helpful for me because I'm being at home when you're stuck is so much stuff going on in the world. What do? You walk to the kitchen, you eat something.
Yes.
I come back home, I go, I'll come back to my desk, go back to the kitchen, and I eat something else. So that's been always like a challenge. So it was great to kind of get that information. And today I wanted to kind of go internally a little bit. I wanted to kind of go into the heart, talk a little bit about, and if we can get to it, I want to start with the heart, go on to the liver, and if we have time, we'll do kidneys and stuff. And if we can't, then we'll do that for next time.
Surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I want to welcome our guests at BronxNet for tuning in. Appreciate everybody out there. We're excited to be bringing these shows to you, and we're going to have a lot of great information, a lot of great guests coming in the future. So just stay tuned. And this is, it looks like it's an extension of my beard, but it's the mic. So George, tell us a little bit about, there's so much information on the heart, and there's always a battle going on between what's good for the heart and what's bad for the heart. Give me your perspective on that, as far as what you think is maybe some of the information or the misinformation that we've gotten throughout the years.
Well, I think the biggest, well, there's a few of them, but the biggest thing with the heart is obviously, when you talk about the heart, one of the biggest things is the cholesterol thing.
Right.
The whole cholesterol is bad for you, and don't eat too much fat, don't eat too much saturated fat, and all that. And there's this whole push and pull with this thing, and a lot of that is actually kind of old information, because the stuff that they've realized since then when it comes to the heart and cholesterol and how things work is just completely turned that whole argument upside down.
Right.
Okay. So, obviously the heart is, the heart is basically a muscle that doesn't get a break. It's constantly pumping. It's constantly, it's just constantly working, and you need to obviously keep it in good shape. Yes, you need to eat well. You need to exercise to give it the exercise and all that type of stuff. But I think the biggest problem with it is, again, so much information, because a lot of the traditional doctors are actually working on this old theory that if you eat cholesterol, that cholesterol is just going to all of a sudden appear in your arteries, and it's going to block everything, and you're going to get a big high risk for a heart attack and all that type of stuff. And there's more to it than that. Okay, there's a reason why that happens, and there's a reason why you have a cholesterol buildup and a calcification buildup and all that type of stuff. Okay, so, and it really goes back to the basic of all disease, which is inflammation. Inflammation is the root of all disease. Any disease, it's inflammation. Period. That's the number one thing. Okay, wow. So when you want to, and I'll get a little technical if you want regarding the heart and in the actual. So, in your heart, you have your arteries, right? You have arteries and all, right? And in those arteries, you have there's a smooth muscle lining within those arteries. Okay, and that smooth muscle lining is what allows the arteries to expand and contract. Okay, and that smooth muscle lining is called the endothelial lining. Okay, that endothelial lining, to go a little bit deeper now, there's a gas in there, in that endothelial lining, that allows that artery to expand and contract. And that gas is called nitric oxide. Okay, so it's expanding, contract. So every time you're running, you're walking upstairs, there's an expansion, contraction, that type of thing. Okay, well, what happens when you have a very inflammatory diet, for example, you smoke cigarettes, you're overweight, or you have all those inflammatory cytokines that happen, with the Western type of diet. Well, what it does is it actually stops the production or slows down the production of nitric oxide, and actually starts to wear down that endothelial lining in there. Okay, and that endothelial lining starts to eventually stiffen up, because now you don't have that nitric oxide letting it expand and contract. So think of a hose. If the hose is stiff, right, it can't bend, it can't expand, that type of thing. So think of your artery that way. So the artery starts to stiffen up. The artery stiffens up, then you start to get cracks in that endothelial lining. Well, what happens when you get cracks? The body already senses this. So what does the body do? Starts to bring cells and foam cells to that surface to try to repair it.
Try to fix it.
Okay? And to try to repair that. Well, the repair process starts. One of the things that it brings to that process is cholesterol. Now, the reason why it does that, just so you know, is because cholesterol, what's called, they call it the bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol.
Right.
It's actually not even cholesterol. It's a lipoprotein. Okay, that lipoprotein carries with it nutrients. Okay, so the body uses that to actually go on there and actually act like a paste to paste over that inflammation.
Wow. So it's like our bodies are freaking
The
amazing. I
body
mean,
is incredible, and
it's
that's where you start. Now the problem is when you're continually having that pattern of inflammation, or you're smoking or whatever the case may be. So the body's going to keep doing it until this is where you start to get the atherosclerosis, when you start to get the blockages in the artery and those types of things.
Yeah.
But that's what the body's trying to do. Really, it's a defense mechanism against you killing yourself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
the body's just trying to survive.
exactly, and the number one thing that the human body is doing is surviving. That's the number one goal of the body, for survival of the host.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
So that's one of those things that the doctors don't talk about, because it's that old, again, they work with that old theory that just if you eat a couple of eggs and you have cholesterol, it's going to magically go there and that's it, it's over, that type of thing.
Right. So this old philosophy, I know that, I mean, even if you look at the four food groups, remember that from like, I don't know, 35, 40 years ago, it was like eggs, milk, cheese, like meat, and I think Doritos, I think was one of them. But I'm like, to me, it's like that has changed and evolved throughout the years because more information has come in, and which kind of makes sense. I mean, it's not like we can just say, okay, we know everything now, let's go. You know what I mean? It's 500 years ago, people thought the world was flat, right? And then somebody went around it on a boat, on a ship, and now we have more information. That's not that long ago when you think about it, right? It's not that long ago. So just like medicine, that especially modern Western medicine, there has to be more developing. And I know that the nutritionists and the holistic medicine has gotten a much bigger boost in the last 20 years, just because they're not dying, because they have actual data to prove what they're saying. And I know that the medical profession has sort of adapted some of that, not all of it. But you're right. They are working with this old philosophy, especially a doctor that graduated 25, 30 years ago and is practicing. A newer doctor might have a little bit more of the newer information. So growing up in the Bronx, as you know, we grew up eating rice, beans, steak, all the foods that we started hearing about that just caused all this blockage in the heart, right? All this heart disease and all that stuff. So you're saying that it's really more inflammation of the body that the food causes than anything else, right? And like diabetes is inflammation of the body, right? Heart disease, inflammation of the body, high blood pressure, inflammation of all these things. Explain, since we're talking about the heart, explain blood pressure.
So blood pressure, first of all, you have to realize if your blood pressure is high, and when I mean high on a regular basis, not high because you're nervous in the doctor's office and you get what's called white coat blood pressure, which is you're like, it actually happens to me sometimes when I'm there and I get anxiety because I'm taking my blood pressure. The blood pressure goes up.
Be low, please be low.
Exactly, blood pressure goes up. That's what I usually tell the doctor, if I to take it twice. Because I'm like, when I relax, and then okay, take it again, and then it goes down. But you have to realize with blood pressure, this is what you have to understand. People don't get this concept. Blood pressure is a symptom of something. It is not an actual disease. And I know they have it categorized as a disease in the books and all that stuff, high blood pressure, but it's actually a symptom of something. So there's a reason why that blood pressure is up. And
it's
usually,
like measurement, you're saying it's not
for whatever reason, there's a reason why there's hypertension. Put it that way. Okay. Now that reason usually is it's usually about it could be one of four things. Okay, it's usually either stress. Okay, and I'm talking about just regular stress, ongoing stress. Okay, some kind of blockage. Okay, because again, the arteries becoming blocked with something. And that, keep in mind, let's say your artery is blocked with cholesterol. Well, what does the body do when that happens? The body has to push that blood through there,
Right.
and it causes the blood pressure to go up because it's pushing now. It's forcing
A smaller space, right? Like
exactly. Okay. Or it's a deficiency, okay, of sometimes very simple nutrients. Okay. A deficiency of magnesium, a deficiency of calcium, a deficiency, or both. Okay. Usually some kind of deficiency, or again, some kind of inflammation having to do with obesity. If you're an obese person, there's more pressure on the heart, there's more pressure on the organs, but usually those are the reasons for hypertension. Okay. Now, so the body compensates by pushing, right? And the body does that with any system. And that's the way it's like blood sugar. If we look at blood sugar, as a matter of fact, if you look at something like insulin resistance, okay, insulin resistance is basically you have too much sugar in the cell. There's too much glucose in the cell, but your body needs to put that sugar somewhere. So it's trying to force open the sugar. It's got to put it somewhere, and it can't. If there's no more sugar in the cell, well, it's got to store it somewhere. So it's going to put it into the fat. It's got to go somewhere, So this is where you get people becoming more overweight. So that's how the body works. So blood pressure, again, is a symptom of something. A lot of times it's because of, you have to look at the person's diet. You have to look at if they're not eating, they're not eating their vegetables. They're not eating the good foods. And because of that, they're deficient in magnesium, calcium, selenium, all these things, because all these things work with the heart. Another one, coenzyme Q10. Okay, coenzyme Q10 is the nutrient that the body makes. 80% of the energy that your body makes is made by coenzyme Q10, right? Oh. And coenzyme Q10 gives your heart the energy to pump in rhythm.
So the body makes that itself.
The body makes that itself, okay, and you get it. You can get it from your diet. The problem is that the older you get, the less you make. Okay. So what happens, and I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but everything is kind of connected.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So for example, we're talking about cholesterol. When you go on when you have somebody who has, let's say, high cholesterol, and the doctor gives them a cholesterol drug, right? Lipitor, or whatever it is. What do? That cholesterol that pill blocks the liver from making cholesterol. Okay, because cholesterol is made in the liver. Okay, well, it blocks that pathway. The problem is that same pathway is where the coenzyme Q10 is made.
Okay. I was going to say that can't be healthy just to force the body to stop doing what it naturally should be doing.
Right. But unfortunately, that's what medications do. But so it not only stops the cholesterol, stops the coenzyme Q10. So what ends up happening, your heart is not getting enough coenzyme Q10. So eventually, over time, heart starts to weaken because it's not getting the energy it needs to pump correctly. So there's always, side effects to all these things.
Right. I mean, yeah, and I think we're all kind of familiar with the fact that most medicines have some type of side effect. Because eventually, then you would have to be on some kind of a heart medicine.
Right.
You are on
exactly.
Cholesterol or medicine for a long time.
Right.
Lipitor. So not to get into the whole pharmaceutical world, but when you're talking about like the heart and you're talking about the liver and the kidneys, right? What would you say if somebody had to like take care of their body? They're out of shape. They're overweight by, I don't know, 30 to 100 pounds, whatever, right? What should be one of the first organs that they should be really, or muscles or body, interior body that they should really start working on?
Well, I mean,
probably all, like you said, is all connected, but
it is all connected. Yes. I mean, obviously, when you let's say if somebody's overweight, one of the things you have to look at is when they test, where they look for insulin resistance, for example, because a lot of times that's type 2 diabetes is attached to a lot of people who are overweight, that type of thing. They have that. So you do have to look at, that type of thing. But I would say that the heart is probably the heart and the brain, really. But the heart, because you have to look at it, heart disease is the number one killer in the United States. You know what I'm saying? It's the number one killer. Yeah, it's ridiculous, and you hear these people, and people dying in their 50s, 50 something years old, and they had a heart attack or sometime, and a lot of times they don't have a symptom. A lot of times, unfortunately, their first symptom is their last symptom.
Right.
So to me, the heart is especially, is important in making sure that it gets what it needs. It gets the nutrition that it needs. It gets everything that it needs. So making sure that, and that's why things like the omega product that's on the site is so important, because it really helps the heart. It really helps the brain. And it helps any kind of inflammation in your body. Okay. And if you have inflammation in the heart and in the heart vessels, it's actually going to help to bring that down.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to mention about the omega was that when I took it like about 3 days later, I was feeling good. I was feeling, and I've never really felt like, it's just,
right.
Sometimes I generally put in 18 hours to 19 hours a day. That's my normal work load with the stuff that I'm trying to do. Right. So it's pretty average, but I started feeling a lot of energy. But what I really noticed is that I had a couple of shows that I was spot on, like my brain. I felt that it was like I was sharper.
Yeah.
I was sharp. And even since then, I feel like even now my shows, and maybe because, there's a combination of everything, I'm getting more comfortable with the shows. You're number 50, you're the 53 guest. This is my 53rd show, right? And you've done 3 of them, right?
Wow.
So, I'm getting a little familiar with, but it's also like the fact that, you got to think quick, when you're doing this kind of thing. Somebody will ask a question. You want to come up with a question based on that, or maybe I have a brain question, whatever it is. But I just realized that my brain was just working a lot better. I felt a lot more clearer. And the only different thing that I've been doing is that, it's the only different thing. So, that's my little testimonial. But so let's talk a little bit about the heart there, because you mentioned the omegas. What else can someone be doing to really start strengthening that heart and to really start taking care of that organ? Because like you said earlier today, which was kind of interesting, it doesn't get a break, right? And you don't want it to take like a 15-minute.
Exactly. Yeah. Exercise, obviously. Exercise is key, because exercise and exercise is actually going to help a lot of other things, because exercise is going to help insulin resistance. Exercise is going to help blood pressure, but it's also, again, your heart is a muscle and your heart needs that work, right?
Talk about exercise for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Off, but let's talk about the exercise, because exercise usually means I worked in the gym industry for 18 years, right? So I'm very familiar with how people work out and how some people work out and how others work out. So, you hear people taking their blood, their pulse,
right,
to make sure that their heart rate is at a certain level.
Right.
So is that something that we should be looking for? Because I work out, I'll do my push-ups, I'll do my cardio, my weights and all that stuff. But I don't know what my heart rate is. I don't know where it should be, because I'm not going around, taking my pulse. So what's a good position? What's a good cardio to get the heart to be working?
Well, here's the thing, and to be honest with you, John, I don't do it either. Okay, I'm not one of those that's like, write it down and everything's, I don't. To me, I want to get a nice workout. I want to, I want my heart to be pumping good. I want to, have a sweat going. All right. But if I get all that and I'm sore the next day too, I know I did some work. Okay. And that's when exercise doesn't have to be. And this is part of the problem. You get those people that are doing all that stuff, and then you get people that are just like, oh, I gotta exercise, and it doesn't have to be this whole grand thing.
Right. Like
I
you can do
mean,
like 20 minutes of
exactly.
that will get
Honestly,
your heart pumping.
if you look at the machine behind me, which is kind of a hybrid of a total gym type of machine, okay, I could do 10 minutes on that and I'm spent. I'm
Really?
good. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I can work out my entire body in 10 to 15 minutes on that thing because
Wow.
it's all there. And
Right.
it's a fantastic machine. But again, to me, the one thing I say to people is the best form of exercise is the exercise that you're going to stick to. Right. The exercise that you're going to do, because if you go to and you're like, oh, I really don't feel like, and then the next day you're not going to do it. The next day you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Okay. So do something that you enjoy doing, even if it's going for that walk, even if it's going for that light jog, or even if it's doing the total gym or whatever it is, push-ups at home. If you have fun, even yoga, whatever it is, if you enjoy doing it, then that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And
it really is just kind of getting your body to move.
Exactly. Your body was designed to move, but it's also, again, it's going to strengthen that heart. It's going to let the blood flow through your lymphatic system. You have a lymphatic system in there that drains all the garbage out of your system. Well, that lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump. So you have to actually move to get it to work properly. So, and again, it doesn't have to, now to tell you the truth, to go on the other spectrum, I'm not a fan of marathons. I'm not a fan of, the CrossFit and those types of things. I think there's a line you can cross where it's too much. And some people, of course, I mean, I've read stories and I've seen stories of people really unfortunately dying doing these things, or ending themselves in the hospital because they've just overdone it. So there is a line that can be crossed also.
And it is the extreme of, I mean, anyone can actually take something a little bit too far,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you get these marathon runners, and it's really bad from what I hear. I know they have new sneakers now and all this new stuff,
Right.
but it's really bad for the joints, right? That constant pounding for especially the ones that do the New York City Marathon. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment. Not to, I mean, the human spirit and the physical abilities that somebody can push themselves to achieve is incredible. And that alone is an amazing achievement. So I'm not taking anything away from that achievement, but a constant, if you're training to that, that's one thing. But if you're constantly doing 5 to 10 miles a day as your workout, I think that's probably going to create some problems for you down the road on your joints.
Right. And if you think about it, what are the most common surgeries that you have when you get older? Your knees get replaced, you get hips surgery, you get back surgery, right? Usually those are like the three most common surgeries that have to do with people who were so active. I mean, athletes get it all the time because they were constantly running and pounding and all this. And again, not to say that it's bad to be an athlete. I'm just saying that, specifically with marathon runners and those types of people, a lot of them end up having those situations later on in life because of all the pounding that they took. And I still, to this day, many of them are under nutrified.
I was going to say that. I was going to ask about that. Like, how much food do they need to do something like that? Like, especially these long marathons, I mean, it doesn't seem like, yes, the body was made to move, but I don't know if it was made to do, 20, whatever the marathon is.
26 miles of marathon. No, you first of all, again, and I think we talked a little bit about it last time. Again, a doctor that I follow said that exercise without nutrition is suicide. Okay. Without the proper nutrition is suicide. You need to have, because again, when you sweat out the toxins, but you sweat out the nutrients too. Right. So you have to nutrify yourself, okay? Whether it's supplements and all that thing, eating good food, okay? And that's huge in those types of situations. Now, the other thing, talking about exercise, is they found recently, and I'm sure you've heard this. They found recently that the best exercise actually for people in general is the actual short bursts of exercise.
I did hear about that. Yeah. I
It's
think I think we've known something like that for a while. Where, like for instance, like if you work out, like if you do 3 sets, you can do 1 set and be fine.
right,
That
exactly.
30 is not really giving you anything extra that
Right.
you know. So
And
yeah,
it's
okay,
it's actually, yeah, it's not only that, it's also, let's say you're doing cardio, for example, you're doing some kind of running or whatever. They actually saying to run fast for 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it is, and
better.
then stop for a minute and 2 minutes, and let your heart catch up to
Right,
it,
right.
and then sprint again for another 30 seconds and then stop. That's what's called like interval training, they call it.
Mm.
Okay. Or they call it like, some people call it burst training, but they
Burst. I've heard
yeah,
of that.
burst training, but they have found that that is the actual optimal exercise for people. Because when you go back to, again, our ancestry, they didn't really run marathons.
Right,
They did short bursts of lifting and pulling and pushing and all those types of things.
right. And what? This is something that happened to me. Like I remember, we used to have a track. We still have a track here in Bayonne, and I would go there, and my thing was like, because I used to go around like 4 to 5 times around this track, right? It was a couple of miles or whatever, right? And I would do that, and I thought to myself one day, I said, you know what? What if I just ran around once
Right.
as fast as I can, just until I not collapse, but until I
Right.
get all the way around exhausted, and that's what I did. And I'm telling you that the next day, I was way more sore. I felt better. I felt more oxygen in my body because I
Yes.
took this one thing. I just ran around this one track. And I was like in a sprint all the way around. And I did
Right.
this a few years ago, and I used to do it all the time. That would be my workout.
There
I
you
would
go.
work out, do that, and then I would do some other push-ups and stuff like that. And it
Exactly.
not only does it cut down on the time that it takes,
Yes.
but it also actually makes you feel better. I felt like really good at the end of it. I was like, whew, it was like really exhilarating, kind of.
Yeah, you
Um,
get those that rush, those endorphins,
yeah,
and it's
I felt like really endorphed. Kind of thing. So let's talk about, we were talking about the heart, and I want to kind of talk a little bit about liver.
Mhm.
We're at 32 minutes now, and I want to kind of jump into a little that, because the liver, is such an important organ of the body. It like freaking cleans everything, right? I mean, it purifies everything, right, and gets all the crap out and holds
Right.
all the crap, and then it gets it out of the body.
Right.
Uh, what what does inflammation do to the liver? Like what kind of damage can that do?
Well, it could do a lot of damage. I mean, the point is, again, inflammation being the root of illness. The liver has to pretty much detoxify everything you're taking in. I mean, the liver literally separates things. Okay, and you have it's kind of weird the way it works, but the liver has a couple of phases of detoxification. So let's say you're taking in something that has kind of a little bit of a toxic element to it. Well, the liver will actually take it. It will take the toxic element, activate it, right, where it's actually toxic, and then bring it to a next phase where it deactivates it and then brings it out. Again, it's an amazing system. Okay, it's called phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. That's what it, and it does that with everything. I mean, even supplements that you take in. Okay, there are some vitamins, for example, that have to be converted in your body in order for them to be used.
Right.
They're like, for example, B12 there's different forms of B12. So when you take it in, the liver takes it and actually converts it to the usable form of B12, and then uses it for detoxification and memory and the heart and all these types of things. So the liver, again, it's constantly detoxifying, constantly working on this type of stuff.
What causes the most damage to the liver?
I mean, Alcohol is big.
I was gonna say, I mean, I would think alcohol.
Alcohol,
So is
alcohol.
that any because they're people that socially drink,
Right.
right?
I mean, social distancing like that.
There we are.
I have that on my brain.
I know we all do.
Social drinking. I mean, I mean, I social drink every once in a blue moon, probably maybe once or twice a year. During the holidays, that type of thing.
I'm actually like that too.
And you have to realize the body is very resilient. The body, and the body kind of snap. The body wants to get back to what's called homeostasis, which is basically a normalizing of everything. The body's constantly trying to get back to that. So even if the liver's kind of, working overtime, okay, eventually it's trying to get back to that normalcy, that homeostasis type thing.
So someone that's drinking, let's say, weekly,
right?
Friday nights, everybody gets out, they get out of work. Hey, let's meet at the bar. We hang out. They drink. Saturday, they go, oh, yeah, we got a party. They drink. Sunday, they chill, and then Monday back to work and stuff. And they continue that, and 52 weeks a year. They do that 35 weeks. I mean, and that's pretty conservative because people do it almost every single weekend.
Right.
The reason I'm talking about this is because alcoholism, or just drinking alcohol to an excess, when it's not affecting your life, it's still bad. And that's like because people associate alcoholism with he was drinking so much that his life got bad. Right. But I know people that drink so much and still have jobs.
Yes.
I mean, there's the social functioning alcoholics, I guess some people call them and stuff like that.
Right.
But how long can the body go creating that kind of damage before things start really becoming a problem?
Years. I mean, years.
Really?
And that's the problem, is that you don't see the inflammation that's going on in there, but years and years. I mean, you can start drinking when you're 20, social, that type of the functional drinker, and not, I mean, you can go to not see any ramifications for it till you're 40 or 50.
Wow.
Okay? Because the body, again, is so resilient that way. But the problem is that, there's no such thing as having no effect. And this is what people don't understand. Like, yes, you can have that one drink and you may not have it later, but it still has an effect on your body. It still causes inflammation in your body. It's still actually, and it still actually drains nutrients out of your body that are designed to be there to help you. Okay. So everything that you put in your mouth is going to have an effect, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. It's going to have some kind of effect. Right. It's just a matter of which way you want to tip those scales.
Right.
Right. So that's a big thing. But again, you have, and here's the other thing with the liver I just wanted to mention, because there's a big thing called, they have alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? Which is basically people who were alcoholics and drank all their life, and then they looked at their livers and they realized their livers were shot, right? Their livers, they had cirrhosis, they had fatty liver because of all the drinking. Well, they also,
they didn't know that they had that, or it was, they just didn't.
Some of them didn't know. Some of them didn't know, and it's just the way it is. I mean, because sometimes you don't get, or sometimes you may get symptoms, and obviously you ignore.
Right.
And then you also have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and that's also a term. It's a little more recent, and it's actually for people who are kind of destroying their livers with garbage, with food.
Oh.
Okay. Yes.
So fast foods and
matter of fact, what I was watching the other day, I'm sure that many people have seen it. You ever watched the movie, the one where the guy ate McDonald's for 30 days?
Yes. Super Size Me, I think it was.
Okay. And I watched it again the other day because it just happened to be on. I was just going through it again. And I didn't realize one thing that the doctors told him. He says, I have never seen somebody have this effect on their liver from food as an alcoholic would have on their that same liver. He goes, I didn't know that a diet like that can actually destroy a liver that way. So it does, it can be done. crazy.
with just the food. So, and it's one of the reasons. I mean, like you said earlier about the real epidemic that we have on pandemic that we really have here in this country with heart disease
Right.
and it goes into all that with the liver as well. Now the kidneys are really delicate, right? I mean, there's a lot of uh, misconceptions about that because I hear people say, "Well, you can live with one kidney," and it's like, well, yeah, but it's not ideal, obviously.
Right.
And I've now people that have given a kidney to somebody and saved their life, which is a wonderful thing that could even
Right.
that we're even have reached that level where we can do that. So, but talk a little bit about kidney health and how that affects other things.
Now, a lot of people don't know that kidneys are tied to blood pressure.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Yes, they are.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're kind of piggybacking on this theme that we have. There's a I don't know what you call it, like I guess it's like a hormone. It's really a hormone that the kidneys release called renin. Okay, that renin is released when the body is under stress. Okay, and it actually pulsates through your body and it gets converted, goes to your heart, and actually makes the heart pump faster, raises blood pressure.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, but if you have a kidney problem, okay, that system can be out of whack and it can actually keep your blood pressure higher.
constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a kidney problem can also, be a blood pressure issue. That's number one. Number two, kidneys are filtering. Okay. The biggest thing to make sure that those kidneys are filtering properly is making sure that you are hydrated, making sure that you are drinking enough water during the day, which how many people do that? You know what I mean?
Not a lot.
Whatever, if you want to say 8 glasses of water, if you want to, whatever you want to say. I mean, to me, I just drink and drink and drink. You know what I mean? So, because you want to keep those kidneys clean and you want to keep them nice and clean and everything running through it. So water is huge on making sure those kidneys are working properly. Okay. And then the other thing that you also have to make sure is that you're not overloading the kidneys with things like overloading the kidneys with too much protein. Okay, because the kidneys can be overloaded with protein and things like that. Okay, sometimes bodybuilders and athletes run into this issue where they overdo it on the protein, and that can actually cause kidney problems as well.
So protein, too much protein is too much steak, too much meat, too much.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really overloading, I mean, if you're a type of person that you're eating that stuff constant, you're not giving them a break, you're not giving your not only a digestive system but those kidneys a break. You're over. A lot of people, people taking the protein powders on top of that because they want to,
bulk up or something.
Yeah, because exactly, they want to bulk up. You have to be very careful because again, the kidneys are resilient too, but only to a certain amount. So, right. But you just have to be careful. But the kidneys do other cool things too. Actually, kidneys also will recycle things. Okay, kidneys will actually recycle. One of the things kidneys recycle is actually vitamin C. A lot of people don't know that. If you're running really low on vitamin C, actually the kidneys will recycle them to try to make sure that your body doesn't run out and to keep as much as it can before you start to develop scurvy. So, right. Yeah, so the kidneys are amazing doing that type of stuff.
Yeah. So when you get these kidneys, liver and heart working together, you mentioned that earlier that the body is constantly trying to reach that optimum level, right? And yes. It just continues to do that for its entire life because that's what the body is set to just try to survive at the highest level possible. And it was designed, right, by by God or whatever you believe. I believe God, right? Designed it to do all those things and to work it to make it that way.
Exactly.
Is there a possibility that anybody can actually get to that? I mean, with the toxic air, with the foods that we have, the processed stuff, even stuff that's not that they'll, it looks really great on the bottle. Everything is natural, whatever. It's still there's some processing
Yes.
that takes place in it. You
Right.
know what I mean? So what what is that? How's that like?
It's not. It's funny because unfortunately, like if you live on planet Earth, you're
Right.
going to, you're going to have you're going to deal with the toxicity of it. You walk out the door, you're breathing air, you're breathing toxins and all this. And if you live in New York City, forget about it. How much toxicity are you breathing in, right?
Right. Right.
So it's not. I mean, unfortunately, it's not possible to not have that. Okay. And so there is going to be a certain push and pull that your body's going to have with it, constantly trying to squash the inflammation that's trying to develop in your body from all these toxins.
Right.
This is why you want to make sure that you're nutrifying yourself with all these, good nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids. This is why you want to eat that good food. This is why you want to exercise and try to live as that lifestyle as best as possible, to try to minimize that. You're not going to do it 100%. It's just not going to happen. You just really what you're trying to do is put the odds in your favor. Okay.
Right. I was going to say that. Just kind of give yourself a chance, to
exactly to give yourself a chance. I know I'm not going to live, forever. None of Father Time is undefeated.
Right.
Where my thing is, I want to live, what they call grow old gracefully, right? You want to grow old. I don't want to have to be, with a walker when I'm 65 years old. I want to dance at my daughter's wedding and not have to worry about my hips and
right.
Or I can't breathe and all this stuff. That's why I do it, because I want to be in as good shape for as long as possible.
Right.
So, and
that's definitely one of the reasons why I do it, because I have young kids and I'm not exactly spring chicken. So I want to make sure that I'm actually able to dance and to remember their names when I'm when I'm 90. And my grandparents, got to live to be mid 90s. And you and I come from, you're my cousin, right? So we're related. We have like longevity in our family, especially with the elders. So that's something that I know that I think about a lot, because they were able to see, a lot of our lives, and which is a blessing. So I want to get back a little bit to inflammation, because it seems like that's just the number one thing on everything that we've talked about. The heart, the liver, the kidneys, the system itself, blood pressure, all that stuff has to do with just one thing, and it's inflammation. Inflammation is caused by what?
Inflammation. Now we're going to get a little technical here, because we're going to go down into like chemistry and biology and all this stuff. So inflammation basically is caused by, again, when we talked about the air, when we talked about the food and all that, okay, it's caused by something called oxidation. Okay, so the obvious example of oxidation will be when you cut the apple in half and leave it on the counter. Okay, it starts to turn brown, right? Well, that's oxidation. Well, how does that oxidation happen? Okay, well, what it is the molecules in, whether it's the body or the apple or whatever it is, are getting oxidized. Okay, and what that means is, when you look at a cell, okay, you have electrons, and we all remember electrons from our high school years and science and all that stuff, right? Well, you have electrons, and electrons really is what is the spark of energy in your body. That's what fuels the cells. Okay, well, when you have oxidation, basically the whatever it is, the oxidized molecules come in and actually take away an electron from the cell. Okay, and what happens is, when you take away an electron from that cell, it damages that cell. Okay, and that's what's called a free radical. Okay, so your ability to replace that electron is going to determine how healthy you stay, and going to determine how much inflammation you develop. I mean, this is down to the molecule now.
Right.
Okay, So the body is constantly losing electrons, replacing electrons, losing electrons, replacing electrons. So, for example, just as an example, vitamin C is a great electron donor. Okay, it's one of the best electron donors in your body. So if you have cells that have lost the electron and start to develop inflammation, the vitamin C will come and donate the electron back to the cell to make it healthy again. Okay, but again, that's caused by the air we breathe, the food that we eat, all the stress that we're under. All those things cause oxidation, which causes a loss of electrons, which causes the inflammation. And that's the cycle.
Right.
That's pretty much how it works.
So it's all nutrition. I mean, we've covered that. We all know that it's I know that somebody said it was like 80% nutrition, 20% working out or something. I don't know if that's correct or if that's approximately somewhere in a good range. But when you're talking about inflammation, what foods are the worst right now? Because I mean, because you look at like rice, for instance, bread,
Right.
like any fries, anything that's starchy, or what would you recommend for someone to give up immediately? Not fast foods. We kind of already established. I mean, if you're eating fast foods as a normal, then you got that's another level of something you got to fix. But
Right.
um, if you don't eat fast foods and you're kind of just consuming food at home and you're cooking and maybe going to restaurants, what's some of the foods that you think that should really be cut down on?
I think if I were to name a few, dairy. Okay,
Dairy.
is dairy. Dairy
Yeah.
is actually a big cause of inflammation. It's a big problem for most people. Okay, take a look at milk, for example. All right, now I haven't drank cow's milk since I was
No, I don't touch cow's milk.
maybe 15, maybe 14, 15 years old. I don't know, until I discovered that there was actually other alternatives out there. Okay, but milk, humans were really not designed to drink cow's milk. Cow's milk is to bring the calf up to adulthood. That's what it was designed for. We
Right.
actually even don't have the actual enzymes to digest it properly.
Right.
So milk is and this, I mean, we all grew up with milk does the body good and you need to drink your milk for strong bones. No, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
Because first of all, the amount of calcium that you would get in cow's milk, okay, is nothing. Okay, it's not even the right amount of calcium for your body to use anyway. Okay, and you can get just as much calcium from actually eating a good amount of green vegetables. Okay, and leafy greens and those types of things. Okay,
Right.
so milk and cheese, dairy, those types of things are not great.
Yeah, I was shocked when somebody said that broccoli has like protein. Is that accurate? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Broccoli
like
does have protein, and the greens are actually some of the best carbohydrates to eat because they are carbs as well. Okay,
right.
so green and broccoli, spinach, all those things have vitamins and minerals in them. They have all that, so you want to focus on those types of things.
Yeah.
Dairy was one. The other one is those hydrogenated oils.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
those trans fats. Okay.
Right.
Again, when you talk about the French fries and frying foods and those types of things, those hydrogenated oils, that's what causes that inflammation in the blood vessel.
Right.
That actually starts the process of cholesterol and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. And cancer also is
cancer. Yes,
it lives.
It causes that cycle to happen.
Right. Wow. Well, George, we're almost to an hour here. I want to just kind of wrap up things a little bit. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I always learned so much stuff. And it's funny. I think you need to always come back because then I get inspired and then I do really good for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then by the time you get back again, I'm kind of like a week out. I'm like, and now I get back, now I might begin to wanting to get myself worked out.
Right.
So the Omega Life, obviously, a great thing that you recommend, and the site is right there if anybody's interested in checking that out. I've bought it, I've taken it. Again, I get nothing from it from saying this, and what I've always said before is like my integrity is way more important to me than my life. So I would not say something that I didn't truly believe. And to me, I've taken it. I've been feeling better. I've been feeling, and it's really important at my age because, I'm getting to, I have young kids. I started
Right.
later in life with kids and stuff. And I want to, like I said, I want to be there. I want to take care of my heart. I want to make sure that I'm around to dance at their weddings. I mean, it's going to be, I'm going to be old as dirt, but I want to get up and dance. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I think that that's a really important thing for us to consider with these visits from you. It's really for the benefit of living a better life, right?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
think people sometimes take it like, oh God, I got to work out and I got but you're missing the whole point of it. It's like you know because I'm sure in your practice, and I'm going to ask you this, um, you become sort of like not only are you a nutritionist and you're helping them with their diet and but you also become sort of a counselor.
Right.
You have to then kind of motivate. You got to be a
Exactly.
motivational guy. You got to. So what's some of the what do you say to someone that's just like, so wait, I got to stop eating bread or I got to cut down on that? I mean, I eat bread 4 or 5 times a day. I can't eat food without it. I can't have what's your advice and motivation for somebody like that?
Well, one of the things I do is I want to find out what I call their why. Why did you come to me? Why are we talking? Why do you want to do this? There's got to be a vision. There's got to be a reason why you're doing this. Okay. Because when you find out that why, whether it's because and most people, unfortunately, most people come to a nutritionist because they got bad news from a doctor and they have to change their diet. Right. Most people just don't come because they feel great, So, I want to find out that why and why are you feeling that way? So once I find that out, and we start to go to a long-term vision of how you're going to feel and how you're going to look, then we can kind of, I kind of help them paint that vision to help them motivate. But I also have to help them through the process. That's why I don't just do usually one session. I do a bunch of sessions to keep them going. But if I can find that why and I can tap into that and keep kind of putting that in their face, usually it works.
Yeah. So it's really motivating them to see what's important to them in their lives and then
exactly
refocusing them constantly on that.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like for me, it's the kids, right? It's, you and I have kids and it's sort of like, we look at them as like the reason why we do anything and why I wake up and why I do this show and why I do that thing and all the other stuff is for them. So that's like my why,
Right.
It's also the fact that I don't like feeling crappy.
Right.
That's a selfish thing for me. You know what I mean? Like I like sleeping, the amount that I need to sleep. I need to sleep 6 to 7 hours every night and I'm fine. I don't need 8. 8 will get me tired.
Right.
6 is good. 7 is a little bit better, but 6 and 7 is fine. I like to eat good food because I like to eat and not feel like I want to collapse.
Exactly.
Like Thanksgiving dinners have never really been I'm never been a big fan of the big Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
Because what happens? Everybody eats and at the end they're all passed out on the couch. Why? Because they've combined every food that they can possibly have. They're inflamed, they're exhausted, their body is working like a mile a minute trying to digest all that stuff, and they're ready to be out for till the next Thanksgiving. So for me, it's like that's part of it, So hopefully, your visit here will motivate people to want to improve their health for those reasons. Like don't feel like crap. You don't need to feel that way.
Exactly.
A lot of energy. It's all out there, and the answers are here. So, George, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming on. Definitely, of course, you will be back. You're like you're like my monthly health expert. Well, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this up to the to our audience, and we're gonna put a list of questions together that people have.
Okay.
And next time you come on, we'll take on some questions. I'll take maybe 10 questions, and we'll just knock those out. And we'll do that next time that you come on. All right.
Sounds good, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All
And
right.
on tight, I'll be right with you. Thank you, man.
Take care.
You too. All right. As always, fantastic show. Thank you so much to George for coming back. If you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you again next time. So thank you all for visiting and for checking us out. And as always,